Welcome to Beat Diabetes. I'm Dennis Pollock, and as many of you know, I've been working on another book about diabetes and how to beat it, crush it, and reverse it. In this particular video, I want to talk with you about one of the steps. This book is based on 12 steps over 6 months that should enable most type 2 diabetics to become non-diabetic according to their A1C. In this particular video, I want to talk with you about one of the most important steps you can take to beat diabetes. After dropping sugar, this is like number 2. In some ways, I feel that bread is more responsible for making diabetics and keeping diabetics diabetic than sugar. The reason is this: bread is far more apparently innocuous than sugar is. Unless you add sugar to some form of bread, as in donuts and cinnamon rolls, most breads, like dinner rolls, pretzels, bagels, biscuits, and sliced loaves, do not taste the least little bit sweet. And people have been eating bread and even living on bread for ages. Surely, if ever there was a food that must be inoffensive and harmless, it must be bread. Granted, it's not a nutritional powerhouse, but at least it surely must follow the physician's oath, do no harm. Actually, bread does a great deal of harm, but most people are oblivious to this. First, bread is almost pure carbohydrate, and it breaks down in your stomach into sugar lightning fast. One of Dr. Richard Bernstein's most notable quotes is this: "The ADA has recently recognized officially that bread is as fast-acting a carbohydrate as table sugar. Whether you eat a piece of the nuttiest whole-grain bread, drink a Coke, or have a dollop of mashed potatoes, the effect on blood glucose levels is the same. Blood sugar rises fast." You may ask, how does he know this? What research has he done to be able to speak so confidently? Well, Dr. Bernstein did the best research of all. He researched the effects of various foods and meals on his own body by taking blood sugar tests after meals. And he discovered the very same thing that I discovered and that everybody else will discover that ever bothers to test glucose an hour or so after meals, which is that carbohydrates spike blood sugar tremendously, as much or more as candy, cakes, and Cokes. In his book, Diabetes Solution, Bernstein asks, what if I, a physician, told you, a diabetic, to eat a diet that consisted of 60% sugar, 20% protein, and 20% fat? More than likely, you'd think I was insane. What Bernstein is saying is that when you eat carbs, even the non-sugar carbs, you are essentially eating sugar, because carbohydrates consist of sugar molecules combined in a fashion that does not normally taste sweet. And yet once these non-sugar carbs get into your stomach, they break down into sugar, and they do this very, very fast. Thus, if you eat a diet consisting of 60% carbohydrate, even if none of it is actual sugar, you are in effect eating 60% sugar in your diet. And this is what makes bread so deadly and so dangerous to diabetics. Most diabetics get that they must seriously reduce sugar intake, although they don't always do it. But many have no clue that reducing, or better yet, eliminating bread is just as important. You cannot swear off donuts and ice cream, but continue to eat dinner rolls, biscuits, sandwiches, and hamburgers and hot dogs with big white bread buns, and then take pride in being virtuous, noble, wise, and sophisticated. If you've dumped the sugar but you still gorge on bread, you are most foolish, or at least quite ignorant. Doctors Michael and Mary Eads, in writing about the beginning of their research that converted them from traditional doctors to promoters of a low-carb, low-spike, low-insulin diet, write, "We knew, as does every doctor, that the immediate effect of carbohydrate consumption is increased blood glucose, then an increased insulin level. What strikes me about that quote are the words, "as does every doctor." I'm not so sure that is true, but if indeed every doctor does know this, that carb consumption creates high glucose levels and high insulin surges, many of them sure don't talk about these things to their patients. Sadly, in many cases, doctors write what they consider the appropriate medication prescription and limit their advice to the standard, "well, you got to watch your sugar." And so the patient goes home, makes himself a big spaghetti dinner, eaten with a huge slice of French bread, and feels very noble. Meanwhile, he never tests his glucose, and he is entirely oblivious to the fact that this meal has driven his blood sugar into the stratosphere. Dr. Joel Fuhrman is a popular vegan, or maybe a semi-vegan doctor, who writes about beating diabetes through a mostly vegetable diet, along with beans and seeds. He does not at all approve of eating meat, except that he allows patients to eat very small amounts of super lean meat occasionally. Vegans and vegetarians champion him, but even with his emphasis on eating relatively low fat and almost no meat, he has enough sense to recognize that starches and grains are not the friend of the diabetic. Fuhrman writes, typical vegan diets do not show the dramatic improvements to lipids, triglycerides, glucose, and even weight loss. One important design feature for better health and disease reversal is the reduction of high-starch vegetables and grains and the substitution of beans, nuts, and seeds instead. Although I agree with this statement generally, one word he uses in the sentence that I do not like is reduction. Reduction of grains and high-starch vegetables may be a perfectly reasonable response when your A1C is flirting with prediabetes. You have an A1C in the upper or mid-5s. When your A1C climbs to 8, 9, or beyond, it is not time to reduce grains and sugars in your diet. It is time to slash them entirely, to annihilate and eliminate them until you cannot remember the last time you ate a bread roll or a slice of bread or a biscuit. One low-carb book with a fascinating title is Wheat Belly, written by Dr. William Davis. His major premise in the book is that wheat products are poisoning us and are just as dangerous as sugar. He writes, once you come to appreciate just how toxic many of the components of modern wheat truly are, you will be amazed that most people even survive its consumption. But he does not limit his condemnation to white bread, or as some love to say, ultra-processed bread. He condemns whole wheat bread as vigorously as he does white bread, writing this, aside from some extra fiber, eating 2 slices of whole wheat bread is really little different, actually worse than drinking a can of sugar-sweetened soda or eating a sugary candy bar. Most reviewers of this book are very positive, although one man did seem to be a little grumpy because the book basically condemns all grains, not just wheat. He was ready to give up wheat but didn't want to give up all grains, like oats. But many people have received tremendous benefits by dropping grains from their diet. One reviewer wrote about their health benefits after embracing his no-grains diet. I immediately started having relief. After just 3 days, I could breathe through my nose at night without taking medication. All my joint pains started to subside and then were completely gone within a month. My sleep apnea went away, along with my high blood pressure and prediabetes. The amount of strength and energy I gained was incredible. I did have one side effect, and that was losing 80 pounds with no effort. 2 years later, I had another general doctor visit, and she could not believe my blood work. She said my blood work was that of a healthy 20-year-old, and my blood pressure was that of a teenager. I was 57 years old then. Today, I'm 59. Now I can work all day and sleep all night. It's incredible. In this step in your path to beat diabetes, your job is to eliminate all breads and grains. Now, there are some keto breads made with almond flour, coconut flour, and our soy flour that may work for you after you get through the 6-month period of crushing diabetes. But for now, the one bread you are allowed to eat is not a bread at all, even though it tastes like bread and, in my mind, may even be better than bread, even to taste. I'm talking about a chaffle, which is made like a waffle in a waffle maker and has the appearance, texture, and taste of bread. It is simple to make, and it can work as a bun for a sandwich, hamburger, or hot dog. But it can also be a side to your meal and can be eaten with a topping of full-fat cream cheese. It is quite filling, so if your main dish does not really fill you up, consider a chaffle with a liberal coating of cream cheese. I make my chaffles with the basic ingredients plus a little heavy cream, almond flour, and our soy flour. These totally eliminate any eggy flavor. But for the first period, the 6 months of beating diabetes and going nuclear on it, avoid these extras and just stick to the main chaffle recipe. Mix together 2 eggs blended, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1½ cups of finely shredded mozzarella cheese, and that's it. Stir the ingredients together and pour them into any waffle maker or mini waffle maker. Cook them between 4 and 5 minutes. Take them out of your waffle maker and enjoy them in any way you might want a bread fix. I sometimes even make bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches with them. After eliminating sugar from your diet, remember the elimination of all types of wheat bread and most grains is the next important aspect of crushing diabetes. Maybe some 20-year-old young man can eat bread freely and still keep his glucose and insulin in check, but you are not him. Accept the reality that bread is not your friend, and for the rest of your life, you're going to learn to live without it. If you've been helped by this Beat Diabetes channel, consider making a financial gift to us through the link in the description. We have created hundreds and hundreds of videos to give you the tools to beat diabetes. It's a lot of work, and we've spent significant money in purchasing equipment so that our videos would be high quality. We see this work as a ministry, and it is our desire to break the chains of diabetes over your life and the lives of many other people throughout the world. If you can afford it, your financial gifts mean a lot to us and bless Benedict and me in a big way.